think that's amazing that you could have a successful year after even still taking the hits you had to take on your contracts. Okay, our next presenter is Allan Johnston. He's the president of Johnston's Grain Marketing Group in Saskatchewan. He's been in the ag services business for over 25 years. He's got a wide range of contacts, business, farmers, and everything in between. He's got a vast knowledge of the business. He helps farmers market their grain to the best prices that are available. He's got an entrepreneurial spirit which drives him to find quality and innovative products to service the agricultural industry. So he's not just moving grain and freight, he's moving other products too. So, Allan Johnston.
Thank you, Dulcie. First of all, I'd like to thank John, as usual, for inviting me to this conference. I feel this conference is very valuable, and I'm always surprised that there's not 500 farmers here. It's just a great learning experience to be here and sit with at dinner time or in the evening or in the bar or whatever, and sit with people that are in this industry, buying your grain, moving your grain, projecting what's going to happen with your grain. It's a very important conference. I compare it to crop production show in Saskatoon in January, on a smaller scale, of course. But the people are here. You can go to Ag Days in Brandon, and you can look at what the latest sprayer is at the combine, but you can come here and meet the guy that might buy your flax. He might tell you what's the best thing to grow this year, or something to look out for in the disease market, or a chat on GMO. It's always very interesting in this marketplace. John and I have known each other, like I said, for at least 25 years. We've been involved in many things. Besides being a friend, we've been business partners. I helped support him in his newspaper here, Wild Oats, by giving him a report on the markets and what's going on out of our office in Welland, telling him, so he in turn graciously made me part owner of Wild Oats with him, which I really appreciate to this day. John and I were involved in AJ BAT, which stood for Allan Johnston Bid Ask Trade in the 90s and the early 2000s, and it simply was bid ask trade. It was a business we were trying to incorporate, to set up, to move grain mostly to Mexico, Central and South America at the time, but we figured we needed a Walmart situation down in Laredo. So the companies up here could ship grain ahead of time, have it in a warehouse in say, Laredo, and just like a Walmart, you could have your canary seed, your peas, your lentils, whatever there for somebody from Monterey or Guadalajara or San Diego to come up and look at it and pick out what you need, pick out only what you need, and then pay for it. We went down there and looked at that, a very secure market. Thought that was a wonderful place. It was very secure, very safe, and very clean. And the only thing that was going to add a little cost to it. So that didn't work out for us too well, other than HA BAT did end up selling a vessel load of feed peas to Ireland, to Soufflé Negocié out of Paris. And we shipped that out of the port of Churchill, the first ever pea vessel out of Churchill, and HA BAT did that. So we're very proud of that, proud history of that. But the grain industry quickly took over into that industry. When John and I did fly to Churchill, about 8 of us flew up there, and they treated us very well because they called us the pea people. No one has ever done peas up there, and they were cleaning them and moving them in the plant, and there was black smoke coming off it like it was on fire. You remember that one, John? Eh? So we went to the bars, we went to the hotels, we went to the restaurants, and we were better known as the pea people. Marketing, John has asked me to talk about marketing, what we did last year. But marketing is like talking about the weather. Everybody has a different opinion on it. They have reasons why they do their things, but marketing is just getting involved, in my opinion, and that's my history. We've been involved in this. I started with this business in 1986, and I'd like to put here in my opening comments that I'm always surprised, again, why there's not more people out taking in these shows. It's very important to your business. You grow your grain. You put lots of cash into it, you put lots of risk into it, and you do not get out and learn how to market it, because you need to know how. You can hire people to help you put your crop in and take it off and spray it and everything else, and you can even hire people to help you market it, but you do need to know what's going on. You need to read, and I'm not lecturing farmers, this is just from experience. I farmed for 20 years, I've been at my business for 30 years, and farmers need to get involved. It's very important that you come to a convention like this, or go to other conventions where there's people in your business talking about your business. Farmers are very important to this world, and you can tell that this morning. The first thing we did was we had breakfast, all provided by farmers of the world. And then lunch, and then dinner tonight, or supper tonight for some of us. Farmers provide all of this, and if it wasn't for food, this world is in chaos. And you see that in places around the world right now with the chaos going on in Ukraine, different places. It's not good without farmers and farmers in good, healthy situations. Today, so far, yesterday at this convention so far, the things that I've taken in and listened to is the shortage we're going to have for 2 years in a row of oats. Listen to Randy Strikers talk about that. The shortage of barley next year and the shortage of malt barley. The shortage of peas that we're going to have, and Heidi was alluding to that in the earlier presentation. Huge farm flax markets going forward. Canada is important for high quality durum production, and that's proven over and over again. Just because of our situation, our weather, geography here, we can produce high quality durum. Just trying to read some of my own notes, how we need to. One other thing in the great presentation by Rob Sake there yesterday on GMO, how valuable GMO is to the future of agriculture. We sit back and let I call them the weirdos of the world, tell us how bad GMO is for us. But we all know we're going to need that for the future to feed these 9 billion people that are coming into this world. GMO has been proven over and over not to hurt our industry, not hurt our food, doesn't kill anybody, but yet we're told over and over and over to be scared of it. This scares me, and we need to get on the other side of it, get Rob Sykes' presentation and listen to it and spread it around to some of the people in the cities. As Heidi was telling me earlier, the soccer moms. We need to get to the soccer moms of the cities and make them understand the truth and the facts of what's going on with GMO foods. Little history of Johnston's here. Like I said, I've been around since 1986. I grew up in the 60s with my father, and he was in the horse business. He was a horse trader, and marketing is in my blood because he shipped thousands of horses to Montreal to a company called Bodnoff, and he in turn sold it out to the forest industry out there to pull trees in out of the forest. And we shipped down Belgians and Clydesdales, hundreds and hundreds of horses we shipped down there. And I was 13 years old in the summer, or 14 years old in the summer of '63, and Dad shipped 2,300 horses down into Montreal, 18 to 20 horses in a rail car. So I'm telling you this because this is my background of understanding business, farming, connections with people other than people in Welland, Saskatchewan. I call it two stumps, population 200. Here in the 60s, he's shipping to Montreal. He's on the phone talking to people like this. Marketing. I'm listening as a child what he's doing, thinking this is kind of interesting. And this went on all through the 60s until we got into the 70s. And I thought, I went to university for 3 years in Saskatoon. I took education, and I finished that. I didn't even write my final exams because I wanted to get home and get seeding, get farming. That was in my blood. I wanted to get at this. And so I did. And I continued to work with my father, and he started Prairie Livestock at Mooseman. That was one of the largest order buyers in the cattle industry in Saskatchewan. Again, more learning for me. I'm listening. I'm watching this going on. There's people coming into town, big business people. There's one of them in attendance tonight. He built the auction barn, Jim, in Melita, Manitoba, back in the early 70s, and he knew my father. So these are just things that I've collected in my life. I'm 20 years a farmer, 30 years in this marketing business. That makes me 50 if I take out the 15, 16 years of going to school. That makes me 65. Like I said earlier, the farmers are really, really important to this business, and farmers need to realize what's going on in this world and be involved in it all the time. We have an office in Rocanville, or in Welland, Saskatchewan. I started with an office in Rocanville, Saskatchewan for about 4 years, and then I moved back to my farm because I got involved with the bag industry out of China. A guy approached me from Taipei, Taiwan, to sell his grain bags. He was producing for the grain industry, for putting lentils and peas and canary seed and stuff in. So I moved back to the farm, set up a warehouse there, and started selling that for about 15 years. Sold millions of friggin' bags to the bag industry. All of these things I'm telling you is to show you the history of where I'm going to get up to last year when John asked me to talk about marketing here, and the market was closed, basically. I was dealing with DTN at the time in 89. I got involved with DTN out of Omaha, Nebraska, and brought DTN into Canada. If you don't know what DTN is, it just brought in the grain futures, it brought in weather, and the only Canadian information on it at that time was the Winnipeg canola futures. I thought there was an opportunity for maybe something else about ag in Canada. When I first approached them in Omaha to bring DTN up here, they said there's not much ag going on in Canada. They weren't too interested. So after a few days of persuasion and phone calls, we got them to allow me to sell it up here. Well, very quickly, that took off, and DTN became the mainstream for getting ag information all over Western Canada. I got John Duvenot involved in that, and he took on the Manitoba market selling DTN and did a good job for that. It just got so big for myself and too many directives and orders and setting up stuff that I bowed out of it because we were too busy for me to be on the road setting up DTN satellite dishes. But still use it to this day through the satellite link and the internet. I think John still has it too, do you not? The grain bags and the chemical business that we got into as well got us into trucks and trailers and skid steers and zoom booms. All this meant more help. We needed more help, more people hired in the ag business. In 1908, I fell in one of my buildings, and I fell and I broke my leg and my hip. So I was housebound for about a month. I couldn't leave the house, and it was driving me crazy because I wanted to get out to my office, marketing grain. That's what was in me. So I had my wife install high-speed internet and send it over to the house. We bought a laptop, and I started sending out emails to some of my clients, asking them if they would sell some peas or sell some mustard, or we were looking for this. But the second day I did that, one of the farmers was quite brilliant. He said, well, why don't you do this every day? That's a good idea. Why don't I do this every day? So we looked back in our database, and we had hundreds and hundreds of email addresses. So we started sending this out to everybody and giving them a report. Not only what our bids were on lentils and peas and mustard, canary and feed wheat, all the bids were there, but bids are very generic depending on the freight areas. So on top of the bids, I started putting our trades, but I never listed the name of the seller or the buyer. I just disclosed the trade. So if you were from Redverse, like Sally's from Redverse, and some grain traded at Carlisle, and it was feed barley, and she's sitting with feed barley at Redverse, she knows I can probably get this out of my market too. Price discovery for farmers, it was a tremendous tool for them. And then the grain industry at first balked on it because they didn't want me showing off their trades. But we never listed the buyer, we never listed the seller, just the trade, the location, the commodity, and the time of movement. They quickly found out this was to advantage to them because we could use my Johnston's daily report as a gigantic bulletin board around Canada, and it quickly went around the world. It's in China, it's in India, it's in Australia. Again, I'm telling you all this is because the progression of us growing is the progression of egg growing in Canada and what's going on. Right now, that Johnston's Daily is $100 a year for a company, and they could have 15 traders in that company, and they get it for one fee, $100. Provided the farm, $100 fee for the farm. There's 3 or 4 people in the farm, they all get it. And that just gives them all these trades, all this information. We have ag reports on there. We never give any advice. I've only been in this business about 50-some years, and I don't think I've learned enough yet to give any advice of whether to sell or to buy or what to do with your grain. But we will give you some insight. We will show you the trades. We'll see you the trend line, and you can look back. If you collect these Johnston Daily reports going back 1 or 2 years, you can see what's happened with flax or mustard or peas or whatever it is. And we'll report on issues that we hear from around the world of what is going on, and then from the news media and what I'm listening to the news and what people are telling me. I speak to people from India, people phone us from China, or they email us most of the time. Texting a little bit, and Twitter. No, I'm not on a Twitter account, but I'm going to get one, set that up. But one of my guys that work with me in Calgary is on a Twitter account, and he uses that extensively to get out our message as well, besides the Johnston's Daily. It just kind of goes on and on here, but gets us up to last year, and we have lots of people that deal with this, and they watch what we do, talk to us, and we've been working with them so long. We have a strong relationship with so many thousands of farmers and buyers, and it came along, as Ryan was saying, last year, September, things started to slow down. You could see it October, and we had never moved a whole bunch of grain into the U.S. or shipped rail cars. We're into the truck market, and that was the mainstay of our business. 99% of our stuff was by truck. But we got thinking, the elevators, the whole industry, the grain industry was constipated. It was just full, if you know what I mean? It was bad. And we had to move this industry. So we started looking into ways that we could load producer cars and ship grain out, whether it be to Vancouver, or maybe to Thunder Bay or Churchill, but mostly to the U.S., get that market open, which I fought for years to get an open market on the wheat board. I wanted an open market, so it was sitting here in my face. Guys couldn't move their grain, and we had an opportunity. So we started phoning people, and because we were in this business that long, people were phoning us saying, would you buy us this grain? How are we going to ship it? So we got the producer car list from CN, CP, and all the short lines, and found out where we could load cars. And then we started promoting it, and then we started chasing buyers. and we got probably 5 or 10 different buyers that would load cars. And you know what that situation turned out? The cars didn't come, but at that time we didn't know the cars were going to be backed up for months and sometimes in a year. Farmers didn't know, the buyers didn't know. They had commitments too. They wanted the grain, but we were paying $1.50 to $2 a bushel over the market of the elevators at the time. The no bid situation that Ryan was talking about. Ryan was moving grain south by trucks. Other companies were moving stuff by truck, but there was so much to move and there was such a huge crop. There was some quality problems, but mostly it was a pretty good situation. Then these buyers in the U.S. that I started dealing with, they wanted specs. We've never, ever been pushed to have the specs like we were last year. So we got thinking, well, we met with SGS and talked to Intertech and Inspectorate in Weyburn. We made agreements with them. We got their addresses, their phone numbers, and we'll send you thousands of clients. We put it in the Johnston Daily. If you have grain, don't walk in with an empty bag or a bag with no information on it and say, I've got some wheat, what's it worth? I want you to come with me with an SGS report. I want to know the moisture. I want to know if it's in a bin. I want to know if it's in a grain bag. Can I get it with trucks get on a road right away, or it's the secondary roads? I need to know the VOMI. I need to know the fusarium. These are all things that I needed to know. When you brought that into me, we're away. We can take that and market, and that just improved things huge, real fast, right away, as soon as we got people starting to do that. Another thing I asked them to do, if they send stuff to us, send me your business card. A lot of guys, you tell them that, they're farmers, they put their head down. Business card? I don't have a business card. I said, you got a $2 million budget and you don't have a business card? Your wife's hairdresser with a $30,000 a year budget has a box full of business cards. If you don't have one, get one. And send in a report, fill it all out, type it all out, let me know what you got. Let me know information, know what you've got, be proud of it. Another thing about being proud of it is when you sign your name. Over the years, I remember when I was about 25 years old, I practiced for weeks trying to get my name in a swirl, like a swish or something. I met this businessman who was a retired banker, and I was very, very impressed with the guy. He said, Allan, what's that? I said, that's my name. And I'm thinking, well, he'll be quite impressed. He said, I can't read it. And I said, well, it's Allan Johnston. He said, if I can't read it, he said, only you and your banker probably understand that. He said, it's probably one of the most important things you'll do all your life is sign your name. Started thinking about it, it's true. And he said, everybody should be able to read that, it should be legible. You should be able to read that very clearly. And he said, half a second to do that swish and 3 seconds to write your name really clearly. Stuck with me. I changed that from that swish to writing Allan Johnston very clearly to this day. Sometimes I still have to slow down. These are little things, but it's all marketing. So when you send me a message and you sign it and I can read your name, I'm impressed right away. If you send me your business card, I'm even more impressed. That doesn't mean you're being arrogant or anything. That means this is who I am. This is how do you get a hold of me. This is how you email me. This is who I am. This is my grain. It's all important. It's all information. And that works for the buyer as well as the seller. Nothing impresses me more when I walked into a doctor's office and he gives me a prescription and I can read what the prescription is and I can read the doctor's name. Isn't that true? I've got now, so if I can't, I ask them, would you refill that out so I can read it? Because you're putting that in my body. I really want to know what it is, and you're responsible for it. Yeah, some of them don't like it. They turn around and do it. Next time they do it a little better, but sometimes you still can't read it. Just small points going on in the industry. Now we moved up through the years into all the different things we're involved with, and we got to last year, and we did a total of 3,500 rail cars. Durham, wheat, and books, like I said, $2 or more, a bushel more. Some of these guys had to wait months and months and months to get their markets, get their grain moved. They were on short lines. Short lines weren't getting very well serviced by the rail industry, as we all know. That's why I asked Jerry Ritz here the other day what he's going to do about short lines, because it's a big problem. But the whole industry changed with that whole attitude. Farmers finally found out last year, geez, the wheat board monopoly's gone. I can sell my grain for more money. I've been screaming about this for 40 years. I can finally do it. I can finally get it bucked. And then the whole rail situation, not just the roads. I won't blame just the roads for the last year's problems. There was oil, big demands for oil because it was making big money. It's down a little bit right now, as you know. And they were booking some of these rail cars. We had one of the colder winters. They can't pull 100 cars. Sometimes it takes more locomotive power to pull half of the rail cars. So that slowed everything down. Plus, there's many more stories that you all know that happened in the rail situation. It has improved. We're back to the same situation this year. It's still slow to get cars, but we're back booking them. But instead of 6 months, it might be 2 or 3 months. But we're back doing that again. lots of things going on in our business. We've opened an office last July in Calgary. There's 4 people. We had started with 2 people, and they now have 4 people working there. There's 6 of us in Welland. We call Welland 2 Stumps because it's only a little wee town, Saskatchewan. So there's 10 people involved in Johnston's marketing right now. We're not the only broker in the world, but we're one of the bigger ones in Western Canada. We've been at it the longest, I think, and Dulcie got me by a year or 2 here, but we've been around a long time. We're here to help you. We have an 800 number, and we're launching a new thing now. It's part of marketing with Johnston's, and you can follow us in the future. And with both my sons and my wife are involved. I've been married 42 years. My wife was a retired teacher. She's involved with us now too. And we're launching EGD. It stands for Electronic Grain Trade. It's going to be brokering grain internationally. This can take your grain from Redvers or Carlisle or Portage la Prairie and take it to an end buyer around the world. We've got a program through Bruce Graham here. He worked for a company called Singia out of Winnipeg. Developed a $1 or $2 million program. It's in the lumber industry. It's in McCain's in the potato industry. It's in Simplot in the fertilizer industry. And Bruce was smart enough to say, this needs to be in the ag industry. So he leased it, approached me a little over a year ago, and we've been putting the nuts and bolts together here now for about a year. Bruce has helped us a lot, of course. It's his baby. He's been out to Calgary several times. He's been out to Welland, and we are just putting this all together step by step. We're not launching it until we get it ready to go. There's other things out there already, but this is going to be when this thing comes out, it's going to be a whammo. It's going to be very interesting, in my opinion. I wish Bruce could come up and talk about it for half an hour, but we haven't got enough time. But this is the next thing in our life, and back to the rail cars. I hope that answered you what we did last year and why we did it and how we did it. We also got involved in moving trucks south, and it was just part of what Johnston's do. Ryan, as he explained, is a grain company, and he had his thing and his way of doing things, and was talking the numbers. I'm talking, we're just a connector. We connect A to B, and that's who we are. And I think we do a really good job of it. I'd love to have you call me or call some broker. Just get involved in your business, and thank you very much. For now.